I say. So the Rebbe continues to explain that Take, the real true Simcha, V'nichya Lefonov, the real Chaim, is La'osid Lavoi, and the Chayei Sara that we're talking about over here, which came through Simcha. The true Simcha is Take going to be La'osid Lavoi as well. Hey. Yes, lekasher zei makosuv ozimolis pinu, so we can connect it, tie this to the verse. Oz, then, meaning in the future, yimolis pinu, our mouth will be filled with laughter, with joy. Shalaosid lovoi tia hasimcha betachlis hashlemus. That in the future to come, the joy is going to be in ultimately in its wholesomeness, it'll be complete, fully simcha. And that's going to be oz. Vagam shesimcha dil osid lovei. And to such an extent that this simcha we experience now, gam kishehi betachlis hashlemus, even if it's in complete wholesomeness, in fullest that we're able to do simcha now at kama sheli is achshav, to the extent that it can be simcha now. He be'ein areich, it is uncomparable legabe simcha v'aschek sheyu losid lovei, relative to the joy, the laughter that is going to be in the future to come. Oz yimolei schek pinu, then we full is pinu schek pinu be full then, not now, even though that how are we zeichet to that schoik is through the schoik presently, but still the actual simcha will be then, as he says. Even though that the simcha in the future, as all matters of the future, through the service of Hashem with joy during the duration of the time of Golus, but nevertheless, the avodah is taken now. The reward that will be in the future to come, which is our mouth will be filled with laughter. Who shaloi be'erech is uncomparable. Va'ad, not only not comparable, shloi be'erech klal, not at all comparable. Va'ad shehu l'maylo megeder schar, it is higher even than the definition of reward. Reward, when you work something, you get reward for it. So the reward has a connection to the work. But when you get an outstanding hamshacha, a lot more, the revelation, Laosi, the schek will be so much greater. It's not even reward for your work now because it's so much greater. Based on this, we can explain Mashebno Shel Sora, that Sora's son has to do with the level of joy, has to do with Yitzchak. Yitzchak is Tzchak Oselikim. Shasora Hispalala Olav Ubi Yoser, that the son of Sora was a son take of Yitzchak, of Avram as well, but the one who davened mostly for him, Ubi Yoser, is Yosim Avram Avinu, even more than Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu said, "Lu Yishmael Yichel Lefanach." He was also said, but here Sarah didn't let up. She wanted the son. Is Nikra b'Shem Yitzchak, so he is called Yitzchak al Shem. Tzchoik also lilikim. Shem made for me happiness, laughter, and joy. So this was Yitzchak that she named. That is Sarah's son. Sarah, who we're talking about here, is Simcha had a son whose name was Yitzchak Tzchoik also lilikim. Ke'inyan dilo havo chayin the Sarah. Because when we say that the law of Chayin, that her life was hers, the law, that is, as we're saying, the Chaim La'osid Lovi, as the Rebbe brought from the Mamer, from the Rebbe Rashab, that is a saying similar to V'nichya will live before him, being the Osin, which will be Ozim Aleschok Pinu. So this was Yitzchak over here, the name of Simcha Kenal Mehamaimer, the Baliyeh Mahaledis, as brought down earlier from the Maimer of the Baliyeh Mahaledis in the Rebbe Rasha. V'zehu Shebno Shel Sora, who Yitzchak, this is why the son of Sora is Yitzchak al Shem. Whose idea is Yitzchak is laughter and joy, v'ad lischok v'simcha, to the extent the name Yitzchak is such an extent of tzchok, also lilikim tzchok v'simcha, it will be shebedugmas yemoli tzchok pinu dil osi love, which is similar to that our mouth will be full with tzchok for the future. Shalochein, and that's why, because this is really Yitzchak is really that level of tzchok, that level of simcha, which is going to be then. It says that we will say Yitzchak of all the others is going to be Yitzchak Atovinu, because Yitzchak represents the real level of tzchok, and the real level of tzchok is La'osid Love. So now the Rebbe is going to explain what we talked about before, especially in Avodah, the idea of the simcha that comes with bittul through self-effacement. Not the murgash, not the nefil of yeshus, but nefil bittul. And the bittul is such an extent, even when the joy is revealed, as Rebbe said before, by a king, by Sorora, but yet it's still, because there's a bittul be'etzem, even the hispashtus, even the gilui, even simcha is also bebittul. So he says, Hine amitis inyan hasimcha bo mitzad hanove v'habittul. In truth, real joy comes from humility and self-negation and bittul. It's the anovim that will add simcha with Hashem. It's the level of humility that allows them for the additional level of humility. So what explained the connection between humility and joy? Humility, even though it seems contradictory. Humility is less, and joy is expansion. That's a level of subjugation, humility, and joy is expansion. It seems opposites, humility and joy. In that Mamer, the Alter Rebbe explains in the Mamer that says that the Anovim will add Simcha and Hashem, and also become Edrush Rabbi and in many of the Mamorim of our Rebbes, our leaders that follow the Gambe Mamer and also Bal Yemha Ha'Ledis, and also in the above mentioned Mamer and Ateres in of the Rebbe Rashab, who's Yemeled Chofo, the Inyan Hanova, who, what is the idea of humility? Loishon of Toya Ba'atzmei. It's not that the humble person makes a mistake about himself. And he doesn't know his greatness. He just he underestimates his advance. That's not what an honor is. But rather, even though he knows his greatness, to the extent he knows all of his milas. So we have milas that everybody has. Being a yid, you have milas, but he knows all his milas. Besides the fact being a yid, that's already a great milah by itself. The kol echad v'echad Yisrael, each and every one of the yid, even if you should not be uh, conducting properly at all. Lo rak sheyesh lohem mitzvahs. Not only do they have mitzvahs, elosha mitzvahs memalim es mitzvahs, but the mitzvahs fill who their existence. So they are not only that have mitzvahs, but they're full. And when we say the loshen, loshen azal malay mitzvahs kirimen, they're full with mitzvahs like a pomegranate, like its seeds. So that means they're not just have mitzvahs, but they're full with mitzvahs. Ubefrat asheva amich kulum tzadikim. B'chlal we say all yidden are tzadikim. Kol Yisrael b'cheshkas kashrus, and we also say all yidden have the chesed of kashrus. So in general, you have milas just by being a yid, but this person knows all of his milas, and yet that doesn't conflict with humility. He does not become an entity in his own eyes. And for sure, he doesn't become self-centered on his existence, being his being. Why? How could it be an honor while he knows his milas? He knows the truth. That those advantages that he has, they are not the power and the strength, his power and the strength of his hands. But they have been given to him the powers of above. So the person appreciates, he knows his milas, but he knows that are not his, it's not his own, they've been given to him. And therefore he concludes that had they given these powers to someone else, he would also be in this level. Not only would the other one also be in this level, but because the person is humble, he thinks that the other one would be even better. Had this been by somebody else, he would have revealed them even more. So he thinks somebody else will do as well as him, but he thinks even more than that, he thinks that the other person would do even better than him, because his humility tells him that the other person can even do even better than him. But Novazu, so therefore, this humility, since he knows his greatness, his advantages, but he doesn't become an entity, a self-centered, self-feeling individual. Not only does it not lead to the opposite of simcha, but on the contrary, his humility and his subjugation, he thinks that he doesn't deserve anything. This brings him to a great and full simcha. The shleimus hasimcha hidavke b'mishu bottle. Complete simcha is one who's bottled. The fact that you lack any self or any deserving or any credit for this, you really could be rejoicing to the complete and greatest simcha of what you have undeserved. It is because of your humility. The shleimus hasimcha hidavke b'mishu bottle. Kivur b'mayim b'varucha, as explained in the Mamer at length. Since the simcha comes because the reason for the simcha is humility and subjugation, self-effacement. So therefore, the simcha itself, or the actual simcha, rejoicing, even when it's revealed, is on a level of bitl. Zayin. Vihyu Chayei Sara, going back to explaining the Chayei Sara, Shnei Chayei Sara, that the ultimate level of bittul is the Shnei Chayei Sara, after having the Chayei Sara, the Shnei Chayei Sara. So he explains, Vayihu Chayei Sara, hu masha zochzo l'chayin Elohim. The fact that she merited to get the supreme life, that's the first, that's Vayihu Chayei Sara. And then the pasuk continues, what is the Chayin Elohim that she merited? It says, Meyo Shona, Ve'esrim Shona, Ve'sheva Shona. 100 years, 20 years, 70 years. These are all referencing the spheres. Sora Malchus got from the level of 100 years, the level of Keser, Esrim, the level of Chochma Bina, and Sheva Shonim, the level of Midas. Shakoya Kolosvirus. As the Mamer explains, the Meya Shono B'chinas Arich, that's the level of Arich, Kemoy Shemeir Boy B'chinas Atik. As Atik shines in Arich, Pnimis HaKeser, as it shines in the Chitzonis HaKeser. So it's stuck because in Chitzonis HaKeser, in Arich alone, we have plurality. There's a source for 10 for the Svirus. So we have the level of Meya, which is the Shlemus of 100, 10 times 10 of all the spheres. But in Primis HaKeser, in Atik, over there is no spheres at all. It's unity. So when spheres of Atik shines in Arich, so then it remains Shona, even though it's Meya, but it's Shona, it's a singular, as it explains now. Kemoy Shemeir Boy B'chinas Atik, like Atik shines in him. That's why it says Meir Shana, 100 years, because we're not talking about Arich on its own, but Arich, it has Atik. In our case, even though it says Echad, and Echad is one, but it's L'mayla Mibchinas Echad. It's higher than Echad, even though Shana, but it's a level of Yochid. L'maylo mebechinas echad. Shana losh l'cha nember meil shana losh Yochid. L'maylo mebechinas echad, not one, but even higher level of Yochid. That's the madrege that she received. That's when the Atik shines in Arich. Then 20 references Chochma Bina. That's Chochma Bina, as each one is included of 10, is 20. That's the 7 meters, which is the Shiva Simei Habinyan. That's the 7 days that built this Sunday, Monday, all the days. Each one has one of the midas. So that's the Hamshocha, that's the Chayin Elohim, to bring down from Keser, from Arich, from Chochma Bina, from the midas into Malchus. Then the Apostle continues, says, that the life became her. That the life became hers. That level of Hamshacha that came down became her, Gam B'murgosh, also felt that it was hers. Shabavoido, Inyan Abitul Besimcha, the Avoida, that's the Inyan Abitul Besimcha, Kam Kemoishu Bizgalus, that means that when we talk about Navoida, that level is called the Bitl of Simcha. Even when Simcha Bizgalus, in Bemurgosh, it's still Bitl. Kanal Ma'amaimer, the Balo Yema Ledes, as we said before, from the Ma'am Yema Ledes. There's also the reason when he includes this Chayei, he doesn't detail the numbers. The Meya Esrim Vesheva of 127. There's no numbers here anymore. Because here we have, even when it's Murgash, it's already in Malchus, it's already in Sora, it's Chaya de law, it's Murgash, but still remains Bittel, which is the combination of two opposites, Murgash and Bittel, that the Murgash should be Bittel, whom Mebchinas Shel Mailam is Chalkus, it's from a level that is higher than separation. Zehu ha'ilu d'shnei Chayei Sara al Chayei Sara Meir Shana v'goymer. And this is the advantage of a Shnei Chayei Sara over Chayei Sara Meishon, all these levels that we said Chayei Sara was Mamshech, all these levels. And here we're saying that Shnei Chayei Sara both come together. The Murgish is Bebitl. And this comes from a higher place than the Vayihu Chayei Sara. The Shnei Chayei Sara is a higher level than Chayei Sara. Even though it's very great, as explained, Rashi and the Pasuk explains all the different that there was Shavim L'Teva and L'Yofi and everything. But it's still three different categories. There is Yofi, there's L'Chet, and Sheva Shonim, Meir Shonim, different levels. There's Chalukim. Masha'en Ken Shnei Chayei Sara is no Chalukim over there. Who Shakulon Shovin L'Maylam is Chalkos. This is higher than dividing Mitzad B'china Zu. So it's Davke from this higher level, even higher than Vayihu Chayei Sara. But Shnei Chayei Sara is a level higher than his Chalkos. Kama Murgush. Even the level of Murgish is bebitl. And that's the idea of the law Chayin, that the Chayin is hers. And still being hers, it's still in the level of bitl. Yesh loymar, dal yidei, inyan the law Chayin. That bavoida, when we're talking avoida, through the law of Chayin. What it means in avoida, שגם המורגש שמחה שבסגלוס ובביטל, כפירוש בעל יום ההולדת בדידו וחיים. In avoida, just like we explained the Dov Chaim, that the Dov Chaim means even in the Do, even when it becomes her, still there is Chaim, there is the level of bittel. And in avoida, it means that the level is B, even in the Murgash, when the Simcha is Bisgalus, there is still the level of bittel. That also makes the life to be yours also literally. That the Chaim becomes hers, she becomes in charge of Chaim. Sora becomes the one in charge of the Chaim. And in charge of the Chaim means that the Chaim should be on the highest level. What does it mean? The Chaim is hers, that she takes control over the Chaim. How so? Simcha breaches through all limitations. Through the level of revealed simcha. Now we have bittul nasetik by this hachayim lamayla megeder v'hagbala. That creates a strengthening in life which is higher than the limitation and the hagbala. Hello. So it turns out that when the Chaim becomes you get in control. You get in control and you own your life. It's an increase in life, a long life, beyond any limitation of Hagbola. And there's no limitation to your life, even to the physical life. Bepashtus, the Rebbe says, a long life and beyond. Similar to what is known by Yitzchak. Whose name is Yitzchak. His name is joy and laughter and simcha. Shagvur is the Yitzchak. What does it mean in the strength of Yitzchak? It's not a limitation. It's the strength is it's an increase of life, an increase of blessing. till life in the ultimate completeness, whole life. Dugmas v'nichya lefonav sheyichel ha'ozid. Similar to live before him in the future, where life will be on the highest level. We have the ability to own that life right now. That's owned through the level of simcha. That's the level of real simcha, that even when we have simcha, it's with bittul. And then you become the owner of life and you increase life. And the action of the fathers is a sign for the sons, and it's also for the foremothers. It's a lesson. It gives actually power to each and every one of us, of the Jewish people. To the extent this idea, the power is not just a lesson, and it's not just strength, it's an inheritance. It's like all in yonim of the father and the mother, it's an inheritance. So we have not only the strength, but we inherit it. That he's able to serve Hashem with joy openly. You said this, and this joy is based al inyan habitl, on the idea of bitl. V'nafshi ka'ofer lakil tia. My soul is like dust to everybody. V'lochein, and when it's miyusad on that level of bitl, ein chshash, there is no worry. She start mizeh eze inyan bitl rot bilti rotzu chaz v'sholem, that will branch out of this some undesirable matter. God forbid. V'adrab. On the contrary, not only does he not have to worry that something bad will branch out from him, since simcha breaches through limitation, through the joy, Yosef he will add through the simcha more force in his service, with more force and more strength. To the extent such a service which is beyond any limitation and measure. That's the strengthening of that vitality in avodah. That's the simcha. Simcha breaks through, allows him to serve the Eibishter with much more strength, but also gam tikberes achayim kipshutai, also increases life literally. Arichas yomim v'shonim teves bepashtus, long days, good years, literally long life through simcha with bittul, and it breaks through everything. You actually gain a tikberes achayim of Yitzchak, a strength of life in Arichas Yom Vishonim Tevis. Tes v'yesh lekasher zeh im yom ha'iled shel kvik dushas admur nishmas Eiden shana zu. We can tie this to the birthday of the Rebbe Nishmas Eiden of this year. Siyum v'choisim shnas hameya v'esrim. It's the conclusion of the 120 years. Born in Tafresh Chaf Aleph, and the Rebbe is giving the Mamer in Tafshin Mem Aleph. The Isa b'zoyer ala posik, the posik in the Zoyer and the posik, it says, "V'hoyu yomov meir ve'esrim shana." The pasuk after the Mabul, the Eibishter says, "L'yod neruchi ba'olam," a person will live for 120 years, and we know that Moshe Rabbeinu lived for 120 years. So the Zohar says, "Shu remez leMoshe." This is a hint for Moshe, who lived 120 years. Shemamshir chayin libnei nosha. Moshe extends, draws down life to the human beings. Not human beings, or every one of the Yiddish people. Mehahu ilona dechayin, from that tree of life. Shabazeh, so that meaning brings down for each one from the tree of life, from the chayin, the hoyayom of mei v'esrim shono, shezeh nichol gam arichas yomim kipshutei. The pashtus means long life. 120 years mean literally a long life. As the Zohar also says, before that, when it says Bishagam hu basar, the pasuk says, Do Moshe chulu. That is Moshe. And from this strength, B'shagam hu basar, which is Moshe, Uh, so that strength of Moshe, people live long life. And that is Moshe continues also today to give people long life. Moshe loy mis. The Zohar says Moshe didn't die. He continues to Moshe to bring this down now. Doesn't mean that Yomim that he is mamshich from Moshe Rabbeinu. Arichas Yomim, he's mamshich even after his passing. Ba'om Razal, and Azay says, blessed memory, say, Malahalon, just like when he was in this world, he was standing and serving the Eibishter and serving uh, the people davening. Same thing right now. Just as it's by Moshe Rabbeinu, who is called the faithful shepherd. Same thing is the shepherds of Israel. Every generation, the leaders. Ad lebal yom ha'eledis, till the ones whose birthday is on Chafav B'noi, and his son, my father-in-law, the Rebbe that took his place, as the known letter of my father-in-law, the Rebbe, he said it to his father. From there, we understand, just like he said it about his father, that same thing as him. What did he say about his father? That these leaders continue to be shepherding their sheep even after their passing. So he said it about the Rebbe Rashab, but it also applies to the Friedrich Rebbe. The Jewish shepherd don't separate, God forbid, from their sheep that they are shepherding. Which is similar to the above saying of our sages of blessed memory with regards to Moshe, that Malahalo name of the Meshamish, Afkana the Meshamish. So this vort that the Friedrich Rebbe says is similar, is the same as the vort that we learn in the Chazal, the Rebbe quotes, that just like Moshe was standing before serving, also he serves now too. Shagam Akshav hu Bal Yom HaEledis. Also now, the ones whose birthday, the Rebbe Rashab, Mele moving also understood B'nai Memalim Mekoimei, Mamlit Zchus Al Kolachat Va'achas. He gives and he says the merits for each and every one, man and woman, Yisrael, the Jewish people. Umamshich Lahem Brachos Hatzlochas Yeshuas. He draws down from them blessings, success, and salvation. V'ad Shemamshich Mebchinis Ilona Dechayim. He brings that tree of life, that 120 years, that Eitz HaChaim Begam Arichas Yomim Bepashtus, and also literally long life L'kol Echad V'achas Yisrael, for each and every one of the Yiddish people. Eis Yud. V'hinei, K'moi she'inyin d'Law V'chaim D'Soro Dugmas V'nichya L'fonav She'yeh Losim. Just like we're saying, the law Chaim was hers, that is similar to the Nichya L'fonav is going to be in the future. Kenal Seif Siv Daled V'Siv Hey. My Mamer, the Bal Yom HaEledis, from the Mamer of the Rebbe Rashab, from Ateres, that the Rebbe was learning the whole time, that the Chaim was hers. It's similar that will be Nichya, the Chaim of L'Osid Lovay. Al derech zeu gam be'inyan ha'nesinas koyach. So similar is also the power that is given. Shenimshech mizeh l'chol echad miYisrael. That is extends from this, from the fact that she has the Chaim, in charge of the Chaim, and that extends l'chol echad miYisrael. That each one gets from that level of Sorah, that level of Chayin, Shnei Chayi Sorah, that the Simcha, that should be Al Avodah B'Simcha, that should be Simcha Nal Sif Ches, Sha'idei Avodah B'Simcha, through this service, Simcha Niske B'Korev Mamish, we will merit very soon L'Kiyum HaYiyud, to the fulfillment of the promise of Bayoim HaShlishi, Yikimenu V'Nichya Lefonov, that on that third day we will stand and live before him. So through our Avodah B'Simcha, we merit the Yom HaShlishi, the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, as the Rebbe will explain. Which the Yom HaShlishi, there's two in Taichin, whether it goes on the level which is even higher than Soviv Kol Almin. So first, 1 and 2 is Mamala and Soviv, and Shlishi is higher, and also 1 and 2, the first, second Beis Hamikdash, and the third Beis Hamikdash. V'hinyanu, dehine mevur b'kutei Torah divrei Mayim l'sil yichayenu b'yomayim b'yoyim hashlishi yikimenu v'nichye lefonov yomayim em b'chinas malakolam v'sev kolam. Yomayim, those are the level of malakolam v'sev kolam. B'yoyim hashlishi u'b'chinas shalamaylo gam b'chinas sev kolam. Yom hashlishi is higher also than sev kolam. Hainu she'ein b'shum medidus v'agbolos. It has no limitations, no measures. Gam lo yamedidus sev kolamim. It's not even the measurement of sev kolamim. It's higher than sev kolamim. And that's shlishi. Mekivon shesimcha peiretz geder. So how do we get to that level which is higher than his chalkus? That comes through simcha. Simcha breaches through all limitations. By day hasimcha magim kanal simchas la'mayla avodah shalamayla medidav agbola, to the avodah which is higher than measure limitation. Ochein hasimcha ba'avodas Hashem yachon akreiv of keli. That's a very close preparation and a vessel legilu b'chinas b'yom hashmilishi yikimenu v'nichye lefonov, that on this third day it will stand up and live it for the giluyim that will be in b'yom hashlishi, the sevav higher than sevav kolamim, because this is beyond any limitation. That's simcha peretz geder. B'chinas shalamayla gam b'chinas sevav kolamim, the level which is even higher than sevav kolamim. When will this be? But specifically in the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi. Uka Pirush, it also includes the Pirush, Bayem HaShlishi, Koya Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. This refers to the third Beis Hamikdash. Sheyivne Melech HaMashiach, Melech Beis David, which will be built by King Mashiach, the King Beis David. It's also the Shlishi. V'gam inyan zeh shayich memyuchet le'inyan hasimcha. This specifically, Melech HaMashiach, who built the Beis Hamikdash, is also specifically connected to Simcha. Kemuva mizeh shehar Rambam, the fact that Rambam proves Raya al inyan hasimcha sheyismach kol odom, that every person should be rejoicing. Basis HaMitzvah, he brings the, I'm not sure if the kol odom is another version over there, but everybody should be happy in doing a mitzvah with David Melech Yisrael. From David Melech Yisrael, the Ksibe Melech David Mefazim Mechalkev Hashem, in honor of the mitzvah of the Oren. They were bringing the Oren. He was dancing David Fazer Mechalker, and that's idea of Simcha of David, and David HaMelech is the Mashiach comes. V'yeshlem Rabbi was it David Melech Yisrael. Why is it Taka such a level? Because he's Sfiras HaMalchus. And because he was Sfiras HaMalchus, and Malchus is the ultimate bittul. He says, no value, I'm silence. He is ultimate bittul, David HaMelech. Ki Malchus is bittul canal. Sivdalit, Malchus is the level of bittul. And that's why the Avodah was, the Sufa Novim Simcha, we learned before, that the level of bittul actually brings out the Simcha Gedolah. Melech David, Mefazez u'Mecharki Lifnei Hashem, he was dancing and he was jumping, and before Hashem, Kimitzad Bittul the Malchus, because of the bittul malchus, gam kshasimcha bizgalus, even when the simcha is revealed, in shayich sheistayf mize inyan bilterotzui, it is not possible that something undesirable shall branch out of it. Makivan sheDavid Melech Yisrael chai v'kayim, and since David Melech Yisrael is alive and existence, hainu shu chai v'kayim b'kol echad v'echad miYisrael, he is alive in existence by everyone, not just as David, but as a king. But David Melech Yisrael, he's still the king Yisrael, Habitul Malchus. David, we have that king, that level of bittul. That gives the power to every yid sheyismach basiyas hamitzvah to rejoice by doing the mitzvah, even though the Rambam says it's a big Avodah to be simcha shel mitzvah is something very, very big. So still, simcha tibay from the rotzi, then it should be in a proper way. Yudalav, idea simcha pasiyas a mitzvah, koilul gam bekim atzivui. When we are joy by doing a mitzvah, but not only doing a mitzvah, even the koilul gam bekim atzivui, that's also a mitzvah. Chol masechel l'shem shamayim. All things should be Hashem Shemayim. That's a tzivui too. Uv'chol drachecha de'eyu. So that's also requires simcha. Know Hashem in all your ways to do that as well with simcha. Yifritzu as gidrei hagolus. We should breach through the limitations, the boundaries, the fences of exile. V'osi mar do malka Mashiach, and the master who that's King Mashiach, David Melech Yisrael. Yachad im Moshe Rabbeinu rayim hemne, together with Moshe Rabbeinu, because Share Goel Rishno Goel Achre. Koil, the first and last Koil Gam Arayim Emnesh V'chol Devadur, including all the faithful shepherd which in every generation. Ad La Arayim Emnesh Al Derenu, till the faithful shepherd of our generation, Kveit Dushas Merechom Ad Mir Nesi Derenu, which is my father-in-law, the Rebbe, the leader of our generation. Shebakoriv Mamish Tekui Mahaftocha. Very soon the promise will be fulfilled. Hakitzu V'ranu Shech Ne'ofer. They will get up and they will sing those who rest in the dust. Together with them, will go to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu v'simchas olam al reisham, the eternal joy on their heads, very speedily in our days.